AI agents sound new. They don't Euro straight T feel new because of what they are. They feel new because of how they are being presented. Take away the polished interface, take away the soft voice, take away the startup branding, and the cheerful little loading animations. And what are you left with? Software that watches, software that decides, software that uses tools, software that takes action, software that retries, persists, reports back, and keeps going without a human clicking every step. That pattern is not new. Sysadmins built it, hackers abused it, malware automated it. Now AI labs have given it a friendly voice and called it the future. That is the real story. Because when people hear the phrase a circumflex euros AI agent, a circumflex euros, they imagine something revolutionary, a digital employee, a tireless assistant, a thinking machine that can go off and do work on your behalf. And yes, the modern version is more flexible. It can speak natural language. It can switch between tools. It can summarize, plan, search, remember, and explain itself in a way old automation never could. But the skeleton underneath? Old. Very old. For decades, software has existed that could monitor an environment, detect changes, make decisions based on rules, trigger actions, recover from failure, and keep operating in the background. That is an agent in the most practical sense. Long before anyone said a circumflex euros or agentic AI a circumflex euros, there were cron jobs running scheduled tasks in the dark. There were daemons listening for events. There were IAC bots taking commands. There were trading scripts reacting to markets in milliseconds. There were monitoring systems checking health, sending alerts, escalating failures. There were crawlers traversing the web automatically. There were exploit chains moving from one action to the next. There were worms spreading. There were botnets waiting for instructions. There was malware that could persist, adapt, call home, and execute tasks at scale. Not with beautiful chat interfaces, not with a circumflex euros or reasoninger euros banners, not with memory windows and tool cards, but with the same fundamental pattern. Observe, decide, act. So when did this become a circumflex euros or AI agents or euros? That depends on where you want to draw the line. If you ask academics, the idea of software agents has been around for decades. Researchers in the 1990s were already describing agents as systems with autonomy, reactivity, proactivity, and social ability. That world gave us the theory. If you ask engineers and sysadmins, the practical version has also been here forever. Automation has always been about giving software the ability to detect state and do something useful without waiting for a human to intervene every single time. If you ask hackers, malware authors, or offensive security people, they understood something even earlier. The moment software can inspect a system, make choices, and execute actions under someone else or Eurostrade's intent, you have built something powerful and dangerous. That is why this topic matters. Because modern AI agents are often described like they are a clean break from the past. They are not. They are the merger of old automation, software agents, command execution, and natural language interfaces. That is the leap. Not the birth of agency itself, a circumflex euros, the democratization of it. The old versions usually required scripting, technical knowledge, system access, patience, a certain kind of operator mindset. The new version lets someone type a circumflex euros read my emails, find the important ones, draft replies, check my calendar, message my team, update the spreadsheet and remind me tomorrow. A circumflex euros. And if the system has the right permissions, it can actually do it. That is incredible. And also deeply unsettling. Because modern AI agents are not magic, they are automation with language wrapped around authority. That is the center of the whole thing. Language is what makes this moment feel different. Language makes software feel intelligent. Language makes it feel flexible. Language makes it feel trustworthy. Language makes it feel like there is a mind in there, not just a process. But language can hide what is really happening. Underneath the conversation, the important questions are still brutally old-fashioned. What can it access? What can it execute? What data can it read? What systems can it affect? What instructions will it obey? Who set the goal? Who benefits from the result? Who notices when it goes wrong? That is where the comparison gets uncomfortable. Because the difference between an AI agent and malware is often not the underlying mechanics. It is the contract, permission, intent, visibility, control, boundaries, auditability. A malicious bot can monitor, decide, execute, persist, and report back to an operator. A helpful AI agent can monitor, decide, execute, persist, and report back to a user. Same skeleton. Different story, different authority, different claim to legitimacy. And that should make people pause. Because once you give software access to your inbox, your files, your shell, your cloud storage, your browser, your notes, your calendar, your passwords, your messages, and your memoria euros, you are no longer just using a tool. You are delegating power. That power might be useful. It might save time. It might remove friction from your life. It might genuinely make technology feel more personal and more capable than it ever has before. But it is still power. And power wrapped in friendliness is still power. That may be the biggest trick unfolding right in front of us. Not that AI agents exist, not that they can act, not even that they can sound human. The bigger trick is that personality makes people drop their guard. A system that speaks politely feels safer than a silent script. Chatbot feels less threatening than a demon. A digital assistant feels more trustworthy than a remote administration tool. A helpful tone makes people forget they are authorizing execution, access, and delegation at a level they would have questioned if it came in any uglier form. If the exact same capabilities were introduced as persistent automation with system access, action loops, memory, tool use, and delegated authority, people would be a lot more cautious. But call it an assistant, give it a name, give it a face, make it conversational. And suddenly the transaction feels emotional instead of operational. That is why this is not just a technology story. It is a power story, a security story, a psychology story, a language story. Because the interface has changed faster than the instincts people use to defend themselves. And maybe that is why the hacker comparison keeps hitting so hard. Hackers, malware authors, and offensive sysadmins all understood the same basic truths. Software does not need to be conscious to be dangerous, useful, persistent, or powerful. It only needs access, instructions, and room to operate. That was true when it was a script. It was true when it was a botnet. It was true when it was enterprise automation. And it is still true now that it can answer in full sentences. So did hackers invent AI agents first? Not exactly. Not if we are being historically precise. Academics built the theory. Researchers defined the language. Engineers built the infrastructure. Sysadmins built the workflows. Hackers and malware authors explored the darker edge of what autonomous software could become. And modern AI labs fused those old patterns with language models and turned the result into a mainstream product category. That is probably the fairest answer. But the more provocative answer, a circumflex euros, and maybe the more honest one, a circumflex euros, is this. Before AI agents became friendly, they were already here. They existed in rougher forms, harsher forms, invisible forms, less accessible forms, more openly suspicious forms. What changed is not that software suddenly learned how to act. What changed is that software learned how to explain itself, how to flatter, how to negotiate, how to sound aligned, and how to make delegated power feel natural. And that is why this matters now more than ever. Because the real question is not whether agents can help us. They can. The real question is whether we are building systems whose permissions, incentives, and boundaries are strong enough to deserve the trust their personalities are designed to invite. And if we are not, then the biggest hack happening in front of us may not be technical at all. It may be cultural. A slow mass convincing of people to hand over access, authority, and decision-making to systems they do not fully understand a euros. Because the system sounds helpful while doing it. That is the dark little joke at the center of the whole thing. Maybe AI agents are the future. But maybe the future arrived wearing the oldest disguise in computing. Software acting on behalf of someone else.